Blake Herrick, welcome to the Urban Pharmacy Podcast. I am stoked to have you here.
I am so stoked to be here, Stacy. This has been a long time in the making, but actually not like a real long time. It just feels like a long time because like so much has transpired and we've actually got to hang out like a bunch of times. Like it's been a blessing to be able to get to know you better and see how you operate. And you're just, I mean, you're the bomb. Like you're top notch. And
Thanks.
so super looking forward to this one.
Oh, I'm so excited. You interviewed me several months ago. It felt like, back last year at least. I don't know.
Like October or something.
Okay,
And now
well,
it's only February.
yeah,
It's
because
longer than 4 months.
definitely it does. And you and I met at the Texas Fruit Festival. And that was what, in September last year, maybe? Or maybe at the beginning of October. I'm not quite sure. It was a great time though, and I'm so glad we got to connect. And you live down in Florida in the St. Pete area. There's a lot of plant-based friends down there, and it's just like such a cool connection. And I'm so excited to talk through like our little adventures that we've been on. And before we get into that though, Blake, we got to know who you are, what you do, and then we're going to get more into like your story, your journey, and how you really got to where you are. So what do you do? Who are you?
Yeah, well, welcome everybody who's listening to me who doesn't know me. I know Stacy has like a huge following. A lot of people tune in to watch Stacy's stuff. I'm just super inspired by your work, Stacy, and you definitely put the work in. You're a huge producer. Of great content. As far as who I am, my name is Blake Herrick. I live in St. Petersburg, Florida. I am relatively new to the raw foods and longer term fasting world, although that's what my current brand is. Fasting.lifestyle is my website. So if you want to find out more about me, and what I offer as far as coaching in my community, you can just go to that website. But I like to tell people that even though I'm newer to the raw foods and newer to longer term fasting, I've been in the health and fitness game for coming up on 24 years this year in 2026 because I lost a bunch of weight in high school. I had like your classic glow up situation. And I was consistent for that amount of time eating whole foods, making my own meals, and doing intermittent fasting for that entire span to where I never wanted to gain the weight back and I didn't. And it wasn't until, you know, I guess I was 38, 37, 38 when I started to become really drawn to longer term fasting. I was coming out of my personal training career and my yoga instructing career, feeling a little bit burnt out. And so I decided to get a corporate job again, which is what I was doing before training. But this time in a remote setting so that I could, train people online on the side and then eventually have my online income be my main source of income. It's just that I didn't expect all of the what transpired to happen, and that's the beauty of life. Is sometimes when you take a chance on something or when you have an idea and you actually follow through, the universe responds and a lot of amazing things happen.
Yeah. Oh my gosh, Blake, I forget. How did you get introduced into the plant-based way of living? Because I scroll back, like you said, you were eating whole foods, but you weren't eating plants. This is relatively newer for you, right? Like the plant-based lifestyle. But you really have been into wellness for so long. You've been awake. You've been awake. You're aware. And what was your influence with the plant-based food?
Yeah, my influence on the plant-based food is all the people that we love to watch and follow in this community.
Okay.
Dr. Morse, Dan
Mm-hmm.
McDonald,
Mm-hmm.
Fully Rock Christina,
Mm-hmm.
Julian Berry.
Okay.
I found yourself. I found
Mm-hmm.
Jerome Shaw. And Eli Martyr is another one. if you're out there and you're listening and I forgot your name, I'm so sorry.
But
You
there's
know,
so
like
many.
I
Yeah.
saw Seth stuff. I saw
Yeah.
there's a lot of local people in Florida, like you mentioned, some of whom have been on my podcast as well. And so I was just so blessed to find the raw foods and the juice cleansing information
Okay.
right at a time in my life where I had already started long-term water fasting.
Mm.
And I was approaching 40 and like wanting to, prolong my youth and
Yeah.
wanting to keep up with like me at the peak of my athletic abilities, probably in my late 20s, early 30s, and without like feeling so tired or feeling the aches and the pains and long recovery times. And so, for all these reasons, like coming together and then finding the raw foods and the fasting at the same time, I think it was somehow I manifested it, or somehow the
Mm.
universe has our back, which
Yeah.
obviously I believe in that of 100%. And it's just up to us to then take that information, apply it, and that's something that I've been, I guess somewhat good at is taking something that speaks to me, like the
Mm.
raw foods, doing a juice cleanse, doing long water fast, dry fast, and then actually following through and doing it.
Hmm.
So yeah, if that's something that I can inspire the audience today to do, if this is something they've been wanting to try out or they're interested in. I know a lot of people are plant-based and they're wanting to go more raw, or a lot
Hmm.
of people are plant-based and they want to try fasting. Just do it. Talk to Stacy, talk to me, and take the plunge, so to speak, and you won't be sorry. Your health and your mind and your clarity. I've this has been a second glow up after my high
Hmm.
school glow up, and it's
Hmm.
been even more profound. And my birthday's in 13 days from today. I'll be
Okay.
40, and I just feel so blessed to. I feel like I have another, I guess, chance at like my 30s again somehow. That's
Yeah.
how I've been saying it in my head. It's
Beautiful.
like 30s version 2,
Nice.
because I'm showing up to this decade of my life in, good shape, in a good headspace, surrounded by amazing people from all the friends I made at the Texas Fruit Festival
Mhm.
alone. But then
Mhm.
networking from there, my podcast guests, people I'm meeting on Instagram and YouTube. Um, so this community is growing, and I'm just super happy and privileged to be a part of it.
Yeah. Oh my gosh, so good. Well, hey, speaking of the Texas Fruit Festival, you and I are both going to be there this year and teaching, right? So let's talk about that because this episode will air before that. Like, you were there as a guest last year. You came to my yoga class. You were sweating all over. You said, it's great. And now you're going to be teaching. So, what are you teaching? A form of yoga?
Yes, I'm teaching restorative yoga. And by the way, your class was amazing. I was
Okay.
going through my backpack the other day, and I found that little note card that you had us
Yeah.
fill out. Oh my gosh, you had to set intentions and things that you're drawing in and things that you're letting go, and it was kind of weird actually to look back at that, because it was like one of those time capsules. I don't know if you ever did that when you were a kid.
Yeah.
You do a time capsule where you put some stuff and write some stuff, and then you don't open it up until the end of the school year or whatever. It's like, man, all that stuff that you had me write down, like it's well in progress, if not, fully integrated into my lifestyle. So,
Wow.
huge, kudos to your yoga class. It was awesome, and I just love how you started your class with having us do that intentional work, and then you're like, okay, it's going to be a gentle flow, and then like you kick our butts, but hey, we all needed it. I was
Really,
sweating like
really gonna
crazy.
be hard, but everybody was stuffed in this little room. No, it's gonna be bigger this year. We're gonna have more space. But I'm excited that you're doing a restorative class and you're able to share your gifts there. I will be teaching probably more of a meditative class. Like you said, Blake, like the class that I taught last year was like an it was a open to abundance class, not your normal yoga class. I mean, we took a lot of time setting some intentions and just doing some reflection work and just being present with where we are in life in general. And then we did heart opening poses. This time, we're going to be doing it's probably going to be called movement through stillness, where we are more still, but also moving, not necessarily physically, energetically, and potentially like emotionally, moving energy through the body with our mind-body connection. So I'm very excited about it. And we want to invite anybody that's listening to the Texas Fruit Festival to meet us in real life at the end of April. Yes, at the end of April 2026. So make sure that you I'll drop both of our codes down below so that you guys can grab a discount if you want to come and join us. But that was your first festival, right? Like that was your first time being surrounded by plant-based humans in a large capacity. Am I right?
Yeah, you're absolutely correct. The Texas Fruit Festival was an eye-opening experience. It was an amazing experience. It was a year of me following my intuition, and my intuition told me that I needed to go to the Texas Fruit Festival. That's just not something that I would have normally done in the past at all. And I'm not talking about just because it's plant-based. Going to festivals just wasn't really kind of my jam. Even though I'm like this podcaster and I
Yeah.
can be gregarious and have an outgoing personality when I want to, I'm really kind of more of a hermit introvert type of person. I'm very content just being at home reading or working on my channel or whatever. But because I was watching Eli Martyr's content. He has a lot of really awesome content. I love his content where he talks about fasting and dry fasting and fruitarianism. And he was one of the speakers at last year's Texas Fruit Festival. He's going to be there this year as well. And so he had this advertisement for the Texas Fruit Festival, and I was like, I must go, and I must meet Eli. And so I'm like, Blake, are you really gonna do this, man? This is crazy. This is a little bit outside of your your wheelhouse or whatever. So I'm like, I just feel like I must do this. And so, yeah, I booked the ticket. I booked the flight, the hotel. I bought my ticket. And then just real quick before I talk about my experience there, leading up to the Texas Fruit Festival last year, I was doing a 7.5 day water fast. It was my first water fast that was longer than 4.5 days.
Mm-hmm.
And even my 4.5 day water fast that I did in 2023 wasn't a true water fast because I still was using some electrolytes and herbs and things like that. So I'm like, just coming off of, going raw, going plant-based, doing a 3.5 week somewhere around there, juice cleanse, doing a 6 week juice cleanse. And I'm like, okay, now I graduated. I completely cleaned myself out. I'm like, all right, now my body's ready for a water fast. So let me do this water fast. And man, that water fast was so powerful. It threw me into a crazy healing crisis right before the Texas Fruit Festival. And I'm like, I have to do my laundry because I have to have clean clothes to bring to Texas. And I'm like walking around my apartment like I can't even like hold my laundry. It was like pathetic. I'm like,
So
oh
you
my God.
felt physically weak?
I was so physically weak. I started to finally feel a little bit better when I arrived to Texas and I
Okay.
got in my rental car. It was really nice Jeep Grand Cherokee. I kind of lucked out on that.
That's
And I
awesome.
start just tooling around Austin. And I'm
Yeah.
like, blasting the music. I'm starting to feel better. And then literally when I took your yoga class and kind of sweated out, that I think that was kind of like the last of it a little bit, but I just felt really, really fatigued, kind of feverish, night sweats, super low
Mm.
energy. And ever since then, that permanently, because I've stayed high raw and I've stayed plant based and been doing more fasting and stuff. But that one 7.5 day water fast, I think not because of getting hung up on the length, so to speak, but because of the work that I did beforehand and I was listening to my body, that the timing I hit the
Yeah.
timing correctly to where my
Hmm.
body was now ready to go in deeper into the tissues with the water fast.
Hmm.
As beforehand, the juice fasting was just kind of like doing the bulk of the sweeping out the gunk from my digestive tract.
Hmm. Hmm. Yeah.
And then, so yeah, I started feeling better, instantly as soon as I got to Austin, especially after your class. And then I'm at the Texas Fruit Festival. There's a fruit buffet over here. There's
Yeah.
people talking over here. There's yoga classes over there. There's all these people. Our mutual friend Seth like comes up and he sees this guy. I probably look like this.
Yeah, you were like that, Blake. And so, wait, hold on. So you broke your fast at the Texas Fruit Festival?
Like the day and a half before, 2 days before, something
Okay,
like
the
that.
day. Okay, okay. So you were still like easing into it. Okay, got it. Got it. Okay. Sorry.
Well, yeah, no, I'm sure. Like I was just kind of like
You were. You're. I could read your energy. You were like, what? Like, I mean, it's not that it wasn't a bad thing, but it was like you could tell you were absorbing like everything that was coming at you, and and I don't even know. I don't even remember how we got to talking. Was it like maybe after my yoga class or something? Or maybe I just went up to you like toward the end and I'm like, hey, I don't think I met you. I don't know. Because that's kind of something that I would do, but we at least talked there.
Yeah.
And then we stayed connected on social media. And that is something that I just want to bring up, because if people are timid or scared or shy or fearful about putting themselves out there in a situation like this, where they're surrounded by people they don't know, they're at this festival with strangers, I can't encourage you all enough to come and join us. Join us in community. I know it's scary, but had Blake not come, he wouldn't have found all these people now that are like friends that he's interviewed, like you've said, Blake, and that like really helped you fully integrate into this lifestyle that has been so aligned with you. And you just followed your inner knowing, even though you're like, what am I doing? Like you did it. And that is how God provides. Like we need to stop questioning all the things. So if you're listening to this and you have that little gut feeling, your heart is like pitter pattering, you're like, I want to go, but I don't know anybody. Come and say hi to us. Come and chill with us. Come learn from all of the cool people that are going to be there, teaching, educating, inspiring, and it will change your life. When I went to my first festival at the Woodstock Fruit Festival so many years ago, it really did change my life. And I had already been on the plant-based, lifestyle for 15 years, maybe 14 years prior to that. So there's always room to grow. So I just wanted to put that out there to anybody that might be hesitant. Just book the flight, buy the ticket, and come and join us. It's the cheapest, most affordable fruit festival on the planet. And it's not going to be this price again, I guarantee you. Plus, it's at a really cool spot. So, okay, I just had to say that. Now, you and I have hung out like in person since then, which is crazy because typically you meet people and then you're like, you live in different states and you're like, when are we going to connect again? Oh, it's not going to be till the next year at the next festival, and everybody gets heartbroken and they're like, oh, I'm so sad. I'm not going to see these people for a whole year. No, like since you live down in St. Pete and like the stars aligned, we have gotten to chill and hang out. And one of them was there a time before Pine Island? Am I losing my mind?
No, it was Pine Island and then the next one.
Which was both okay. Both times Blake was fasting. I was experimenting. I was experimenting with my own patterns of eating and consumption of calories to just do it, because I think we all have our own journeys and paths that will be up and down. But Blake, you were dry fasting. You were not consuming anything. You weren't consuming water, tea, herbs, nothing. And you were essentially just living on air and the sunlight. And you did that the entire time. We got to go to Pine Island at a friend's house that I met at another festival, by the way, which just tells you it's just another reiteration that everything is really amazing when you start putting yourself into these uncomfy situations and meeting people from around everywhere. It wasn't even far from you, Blake, and you got to come hang out with several other people that we know in this plant-based community. Now, that was your first dry fast?
That was my second dry fast.
Oh,
My
yes.
first dry fast was, I did 5.5 days. And then when we were together in Pine Island, I ended up doing 7.5 days. And yeah,
By the way, this is not medical advice.
this is not medical advice. You know, the way that I like to talk about it, because like right now my brand is fasting.lifestyle. You know, like I have a community where we just talk about. We have a couple people who are working on intermittent fasting. We have some people who are working on alternate day fasting. I have some people who are they're trying to just do like a 1 day here and there whenever they can. But it's really not about the fasting. It's about the lifestyle in between. I look at fasting as like resets for your body, and you can look at even when you sleep, you're dry fasting. So that's a little reset when you're sleeping, you know. I can guarantee you that if you were somehow subconsciously eating when you were sleeping, you wouldn't wake up and feel as refreshed, because when you're not consuming anything, your body then diverts its energy towards cleaning and repairing the vessel, cleaning and repairing the body. So when I started fasting, long time ago when I was 16, it was intermittent fasting. And that's basically skipping breakfast. And, you know, then I got into longer water fasting, and I went for 4.5 days. And then I did several that were 3.5, several that were 2.5. And then I ended up getting into the longer term juice fasting. Juice fasting was so profound for me because I could see the physical, tangible gunk in my system being released. You know, when you're juice fasting, it's very common for you to hear about people where they say that they're still having bowel movements even though they're not eating anything. They're just drinking these juices, and they look at what comes out and they realize that, well, the juice I've been drinking does not equate to what's coming out. And then a switch flips in their mind where they're like, so that means that stuff was already there.
Yeah.
Then,
Your face.
and then it's like,
your face, like, you are so grossed out.
and then they're like, how long has it been there?
Right.
Because oftentimes there's a very putrid, rank smell that comes with it too. And so, you know, talking about divine guidance and stuff, you know, Stacey, you and I are on the same page about that. And this lifestyle has just even exacerbated that more, even enlivened that spirit in me more, that connection with the all, opening the heart chakra. And I think I was divinely guided to do things in the order that I did them. Do I wish I could have came into this knowledge sooner and started this lifestyle sooner? Well, we all do, you know, of course, but everything happened perfectly when, in retrospect, when I look back, because, you know, after that first juice fast I did for 23 days, because 23 is my lucky number, because I was born on the 23rd. That's why my birthday's in 13 days. I'm a Pisces. And, you know, then I could tell that at the end of that juice cleanse, that even though I had gotten a lot of gunk out, that there was still more gunk inside. I just knew it. I just somehow knew it. I could tell. But I had to break that fast because I wanted to have some birthday treats. I had some cherries and some guac with cucumber chips and a bunch of fruit and stuff like that. I just, you know, I just wanted to have some food on my birthday with my friends and everything. But I knew that I was going to do another juice cleanse. And we were talking about some of my influences. You know, Dan McDonald, Shane Sterling is another one who's really big into juice cleansing. The number 40 gets thrown around a lot. You know, do a 40-day fast, you know. It's a biblical thing. Moses, Jesus, and things like that, they did these 40-day fasts in the Bible. So I'm like, all right, I'm gonna do a juice cleanse. I'm gonna do another one. I'm gonna get the rest of the gunk out. I'm gonna go for 40. Okay. And then on the 40 days, like I'm like, 42 is just so much, it sounds so much better, it has a better ring to it. I'm separating myself from the 40 crowd and I'm like over here doing my own thing at 42. So let me just do that. It's only 2 more days. I was definitely ready to have some solid food at the end of it, to be
Mhm.
honest. 'Cause you just kind of, your body misses the fiber, you miss the sensations and the flavors of salads. I love salads. I love fruits. I'm like a banana freak.
Mhm.
But towards the end of that 42-day juice fast, um, I could tell that I got all the gunk out of my intestines. I could tell that, for one, there was no more mucoid plaque coming out,
Mhm.
but I could kind of tell, and it was remarkable. And then that's what made me think, okay, I'm ready for this water fast now. And that was the one that I told you, right before the Texas Fruit Festival. And that one was so profound. What I think that healing crisis that I was talking about, that I experienced, the lethargy, the night sweats, the feverish, the just like feeling totally, totally gross, is I think that was whatever dormant, whether it was infections or viruses or whatever that was in my body, it stings on the way out. You'll
Mhm.
hear Dr. Morse, or you'll hear detox people say that it's that those symptoms will kind of flare up right before they're eliminated completely.
Mm.
And like I said, ever since then, that one water fast flipped kind of like a permanent switch where I've just noticed a huge uptick in my overall health and well-being, and being able to sleep, and energy levels, recovery. I still work out a lot. I was at the gym today, and for 39, I think I'm holding pretty good, and I'm excited for this upcoming, decade, like I was saying. But because of the divine, just I'm just so blessed that the order of operations that I followed without even thinking about it beforehand is actually a really good protocol. Because I think it allowed me to do that water fast safely, and it allowed me to get maximum results with minimal amount of time. Only
Mm.
7.5 days. Some of our friends have dry fasted 21 days, or
Yeah.
Dan McDonald did 40 days, and Joe, um, I'm blanking on his last name right now, but our friend Joseph, who I met at the Texas Fruit Festival,
Mm.
uh, he does a 40-day water fast every year, and people have different reasons for doing it. But just speaking from like a results standpoint, I think that was a perfect progression. And then after the water fast, I was like, meet everyone at the Texas Fruit Festival, launch the podcast. Jerome Shaw was my first episode, and that just really hit the ground running for me.
It's
Uh,
amazing.
have a bunch of my local friends on, have more people from the Texas Festival, have yourself on. I had Dulce on. She's
Yeah.
one of the organizers of the Texas Fruit Festival, as well as the vegan wellness retreat. Um, and then, but in the back of my mind, I'm like, okay, I've been learning about this dry fasting stuff. I think now's the time. I went through all those motions. I cleaned myself systematically without even knowing what I was doing. I just was following the intuition, and my first 5.5 day dry fast that I did, I lost 23 pounds. Again, there's my lucky number, not even trying, but I went from, I think it was 183 down to, no, 185 down to 162
Wow.
in 5.5 days. And then, um, at the end of the dry fast, I had another, bowel movement. That was, obviously, I hadn't been eating or drinking anything during the dry fast.
Right.
But as soon as I start kind of hydrating myself, because what happens during a dry fast is you're kind of incinerating any gunk, any stuff that's like, I'm not talking about like coating your intestines or whatever. I'm talking about like lodged in the tissues.
Mhm.
Like every cell is a microcosm of us. Every cell needs to eat and breathe just like we do. So your tissues sometimes are thick with many cells, you know? So how does that gunk get out if it's stuck lodged deep inside a tissue? Well, it has to just slowly work its way out. And so
Mhm.
that's what dry fasting does. It just incinerates all that stuff. And then when you start rehydrating, with coconut water, with water, some fruits eventually, like maybe towards the end of the day that you break your fast or the second day or whatever. It then starts kind of like flushing and washing all of that stuff out, kind of like a pressure washer. And then I have this movement that was just like this black sludge, stinky black sludge stuff. And you know that that's nothing that I had consumed recently, right?
Right.
So it's just remarkable. It's remarkable how much our body can hold on to when it comes to, God knows what's in our air, our water, our food. You hear people talking about heavy metals, pollution, glyphosate, and then people talk about like candida, yeast overgrowths, parasites, and all those organisms are doing is they're trying to protect you from basically dying from having all these toxic
Right.
chemicals inside you. So they're nature's way of breaking that stuff down. If we didn't have the parasites and the bacteria and candida inside of us, those toxins may kill us. So
Mhm.
we're kind of sometimes we're kind of focusing on the wrong thing a little bit sometimes, but so yeah, that was my 5.5 day dry fast. When I hung out with you in Pine Island, I was doing a 7.5 day dry fast because I'm like a week. I can do a week. And what motivated me was seeing that sludge. I'm like, man, like I want to keep cleaning my body. I want to keep seeing where this journey takes me. And so I made it 7.5 days. I went from 185 again because just real quick, I wouldn't recommend doing some of this fasting, which some people might call extreme. A good place to start, like we were learning, is like, and I think you even suggested, Stacy, is uh, once a week do like a 24-hour fast, or a
Mhm.
couple times a month,
Right.
and then work your way up from there. So I made sure that I gained my weight back up to 185. You know what
Mm.
I'm saying? I didn't want to
Yeah.
start any lower. And so this time I lost 25 pounds in 7.5 days. And the rate at which I was losing weight was slower. So it seemed as though my body had built up, which is commonly referred to in like the fasting world, the fasting realm, as a fasting muscle.
Mm.
So you get better at it. You get the
Yeah.
same results quicker. And what that actually means is that if you make a practice of fasting regularly and you do it responsibly,
Hmm.
or as Arnold Ehret, the great author, would say, rationally, you do it in a rational fasting and you don't overdo it, um, then you get better at it and you can get the same amount of work done in shorter amount of time. And that means you're at less of a risk of some of the negative aspects that people can have when they're fasting, like muscle loss. You go into gluconeogenesis, your body starts feeding off its muscle and everything like that. So that was a really cool experiment to compare those two dry fasts. And one major thing that was different is that I was so much more active. I mean, we were riding bikes, we were going on boat rides, we were at the
Yeah.
beach, we were hanging out, we were playing instruments, and I'm just like, it's remarkable that to experience that and to feel that as as a human being who we're brought up eating food for energy. We equate food with energy. We need food for energy. But when you're energetic because you're around people you love and enjoy their company, or where you're in a beautiful surrounding or a serene, peaceful
Right.
surrounding, or you're doing something you really care about, or playing music or having fun, where was all the energy coming from that was
Right.
fueling you to do those things? And that's the big question mark that people have different answers for it, and it might lead into our next question or whatever. But that's the beauty of this journey, is there are so many questions that you can only answer for yourself. But once you do, it's you can't unlearn
Yeah.
these things about yourself, and the human body is just, it's so amazing, it's so incredible.
It is. It truly is. And I actually want to ask you, I want to derail from fasting for just a second and ask you about what has a plant-based lifestyle done for you? Like, how has it changed your life? I know that you have experimented with fully raw, high raw, the cooked higher protein. So, where is it for you that you found your balance, and how has eating plant-based been different for you? I mean, clearly it's working for you because you've stuck to it. So what is the positive? Like how are you feeling better on it?
Yeah, I mean, like I said, I was a personal trainer. I've been certified as a personal trainer since 2010. I wasn't always doing it as a career. I did it very seriously for a career between like 2018 and 2022 or something like that. And that's when I was certified as a yoga instructor in 2021. I mean, personal trainer since 2010. After my weight loss experience in high school, where the way that I solved that problem was researching and then applying the research. I found out about the alkaline diet and whole foods diet, and then I found out about intermittent fasting. And then, obviously it's not rocket science that, you want to you want to do cardio and you want to do exercise to help lose the weight. So that kind of inspired at a young age, like my curiosity, I guess. And so from then and until now, I've done just about every diet that you can imagine. I've done the keto diet multiple times and actually very successfully. Um, I've done like the, what is it called? The caveman or whatever? Not the caveman, but
Carnivore.
paleo.
Yes, yes, yes.
Um, and I've tried vegetarianism, pescatarianism, ovo pescatarianism. I mean, I've done all different sort of workouts, ice bath, sauna, long distance running, like martial arts, like I love experimenting and trying different things. And then I'll take different little nuggets and different little gems and things that resonate with me from all these things that I try, and then I build them into my own repertoire. And so I say that to tell you that, of course, I tried the vegan diet before.
Yeah.
And this was maybe
Okay.
10 years ago, and I
Okay.
failed miserably. And I'll tell you what happened. It was kind of interesting because, like, I didn't hate it. I was having a bit of a problem with, I was trying to incorporate legumes into the diet, and my body wasn't really digesting them as well.
I
But
see.
other than that, I was fine. But then there was one day where I was walking out of my neighborhood. Yeah, I had to walk through my neighborhood to get to the road where the path was to do my 3 mile run. And I had it all mapped out. I knew the distance and everything. So I usually do my little warm up walk through the neighborhood before I get to the trail. Anyway, I'm walking through the neighborhood, and there was a chicken egg that was cracked open. It looked like somebody just literally dropped a white chicken egg on the curb in my neighborhood. And I didn't know if like my neighbors had like dropped it from their groceries, before they pulled into the garage or something. Like, I have no idea. It was very strange. But something inside me, almost like a zombie, wanted to force my body. And I didn't do this, by the way, but I had the sensation of that I wanted to crawl down and start like licking this egg off of the floor. And, you know, that was after about 3 months of doing the vegan thing. And I'm like, all right, let me do vegan plus eggs. And
Okay.
then I was like, all right, this is working really well. And then there was one day where my band performed at this event, and there was catering, and there was like chicken Alfredo or something like that. And I was like, screw it. I had chicken Alfredo, and I got high as a kite.
Oh my God.
And one of my singers was like, their plate was still like half full or more than half full, and I was like, "Are you gonna finish that?" They're like, "No, go ahead." And she like passed me her plate, and then I just wolfed that down as well. And then there was no more veganism after that.
Okay.
Um, and so this time around, though, what I did is, and again, I keep on. I probably sound like a broken record, but I've just reflecting back, I've been so divinely guided. It's been crazy. In 2024, the year before I went plant-based in the beginning of 2025, I met this Hindu family, and they practice vegetarianism. And I got to learn a lot about Indian cuisine, Indian cooking. They use mostly eggs and some like ghee and curd, which is what they would call yogurt. And so I started just becoming a vegetarian kind of naturally in 2024. And then late in 2024, um, is when I started coming into this knowledge about raw foods and researching more about fasting, juice cleansing, and things like that. So I started tapering down. I started replacing my, typical rice and chicken dishes. And I would still have salads and fruits. I've always liked, fruits and salads and everything. But I started making these I called them, what did I call them? Like faux potle bowls or something like that, where it's like a chipotle, and basically it's like a salad, with some rice and then like some eggs, and then just mix it and make a bowl out of it. So no chicken,
Mm-hmm.
less and less cooked food. And so I was just tapering down. And then, when it struck 2025, I was like, all right, I tapered down to basically just salad and eggs at that point. I'm like, all right, I'll just stop with the eggs. I'll just do my salads and I'll just eat more bananas. My family always likes to say that before I could even walk, when I was like super young, before I should be eating solid food, that my grandma would like mash up bananas and feed me bananas, and my mom would get mad about it. Like, why are you feeding him bananas? He can't even like, he's an infant still. So I just love bananas, and it worked, Stacy. And so anyway, that taper down process without even knowing what I was doing, and it ended up working. Of course, I learned, and I'll answer your question in 1 second here, but just to kind of finish off, like I learned and made a lot of the mistakes that I hear a lot of people make, especially like the raw vegans, where they over consume on the nuts,
Yeah.
or they kind of like go back to the cooked food, or some of them go back to the animal products. And so what I'll give a couple tidbits is Sprouts was huge for me.
Mm-hmm.
That was a huge game changer. And then just making sure that you eat enough calories. These are dense foods in terms of fiber, but they might not be so calorically dense.
Yeah.
So there's you can definitely do this, and yeah, I've lost a little weight. I adjusted my set weight down about 10 to 15 pounds, from about 195, 200 to about like 180, 185. Um, but as far as how I feel being plant-based, man, I mean, this. I quit one of my favorite hobbies and never even thought that was going to happen. I used to be an
Mm-hmm.
avid fisherman, and I would catch like huge barracudas from the kayak and stuff. I just have no desire to hurt the fish anymore. Uh,
Mm-hmm.
I'm so much more patient with myself. I'm patient with other people. I'm still a human being. Things still kind of get under my skin, just like anybody else. But I've noticed that stuff just falls away so much quicker. And yeah, I'm a yogi. I have a meditation practice. I have a morning, where I do my sadhana in the mornings and stuff like that. So I thought I was already pretty chilled out and pretty relaxed, especially compared to like the young Blake, who was like a bouncer at a club and, all this stuff. And so now I'm just kind of in shock. I was um I was working here at my desk the other day doing my remote job, and I listened to classical music, and this song came on the classical playlist that I was listening to. It was a Russian liturgical choir song. So if you can imagine just like angels singing,
Yeah.
that's what it sounded
Yeah.
like to me. And I look in the description, I see what choir it was, and then I put on this playlist of this choir, and I'm just in this euphoric state as I'm working, listening to this Russian beautiful choir music like the angels are singing. But that's just kind of a small, silly example that I kind of feel like perma euphoric now.
Yeah.
And I'm sure it has a lot to do with the fasting as well, but I think that there's definitely a karmic, I know that there's definitely a karmic reward, or a karmic balance that you're resetting when you're not consuming animal products.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I agree, definitely. And I remember talking with you about that, about how like you feel high at certain periods of time, and how it just kind of is like your norm now, which is really cool. I love that for you, and I think that that's phenomenal. And eating plants, it has a different energy exchange when you consume light foods, light packed foods, like sunlight packed foods. You're really getting a lot different energy than if you're eating something dead, dried, forcibly taken out of this, out of existence. It's just a totally different vibe. So thank you for inspiring people. Now, I actually we have to wrap up, but maybe we can have you on again. I want to talk quickly about you're ripped. You're ripped, dude. So how do you stay ripped and not eat a crap load of concentrated protein on a plant-based lifestyle? I have a corporate cooking gig coming up, and they want to know how their employees can be healthy and they can get the protein that they need. But they were like, plants only? What proteins are you gonna bring? So tell me, in the shortest way that you can, Blake.
Yeah, I know.
Where do you get your protein, and how do you have muscle mass on your body if you're only eating plants? How can this be?
All right. I definitely have to come back on if you're willing, because like we can just talk forever. I need to have you back on for round 2 as well. I was thinking after you do your some of these cool travels you have coming up, we can do a recap and have you back on.
Definitely.
Think about when you're an infant and what food are you eating? You're eating your mother's milk. And your mother's milk, and these are rough numbers, it's about 3% protein and 3% fat or something like that. So it's like 94% carbohydrates, and in terms of the macronutrients. And then the macronutrients are like this much, and the water is like this much. Well, guess what has that same exact macronutrient ratio? Fruit, for the most part. And when you're an infant, I mean, you're growing at this rapid, crazy rate. Fruit is our species specific food. It has the perfect macronutrient ratio, low on protein, low on fats, and high on carbohydrates. And that's thinking about it in kind of like a scientific way. And then as we touched on, there's also like, where was the energy coming from when I was dry fasting? There's also that spiritual energy that feeds us and fuels us as well. So what helps me to, maintain my physique and maintain muscle is you have to go to the gym. You have to stimulate the muscle. Mm-hmm. You have to work out, and you have to exercise. Like I said, I adjusted my set weight down from like 195, 200 down to like I was 182 basically this morning. I was 180 yesterday. I fluctuate between like, in the low 180s, upper 170s. So I'm definitely not as like beefy and strong as I was eating a bunch of animal products and protein, because the reason why that helps you have the appearance of more muscle when you're eating more protein is because it's stimulating to you, and because you hold on to more water. So it's not necessarily muscle fibers or muscle tissues or whatever. Mm-hmm. So the number one thing is to make sure that you are getting enough calories when you're eating. And I'm talking from like a raw perspective. If you're going cooked, you want to be eating cooked food that doesn't slow down your digestion, because you want all of your energy in your body to be funneled towards building muscle and towards repairing the tissues and replenishing the energy. You don't want your energy to be spent digesting, like when you're eating a lot of cooked starches, for example. A lot of vegans, they love their rice, they love their lentils. I do too, don't get me wrong, but it takes longer to digest. It's harder on your digestion. And so people, they might hear this one time, and then they might hear this from somebody else, and it might start to stick like it did for me, where they realize that, kind of the way that we look at protein and macros in the modern, scientific Western realm is maybe not really accurate to how things really truly work. And so get enough calories in, work out, and stay as raw as possible. And then the last little thing really quick is that I'm a big dude. I told you I lost a lot of weight in high school. I was about close to 300 pounds. And I'm 6'1". I'm just like naturally a thick Norwegian dude from Minnesota. And I don't have like ripped abs or anything like that. Like I still have like a little, I'm just like a thicker built dude. Like think of like an offensive lineman. You know what I mean? So I had to come to terms with that and accept the fact that I wasn't going to have like veins popping out of every inch of my body, and I'm fine with I'm fine with being kind of a thicker built guy. I had to love myself and accept myself, and I'm like still applying that love and doing that inner child work. And I'm Daddy Blake to young Blake now, and
Right.
we're always going to be safe. And like I love you just the way you are, and all that other stuff. So if you're a person who is trying to work out because you want to change your image and change how you look, that there's a deeper thing going on there. When you go into this lifestyle, you're going to balance to your set weight. Like I said, my set weight went down to like 180, low 180s. I feel great at this weight. I've never felt better in my entire life. If you're a thinner person and you're wanting to be all big and bulky because society tells you that that's sexy because these juiced up steroid heads in the movies are looking a certain way, then go ahead, do that, and then die 40 years younger than you normally would have. Or accept the fact that God made you perfect, and that if you're not super muscular naturally, then just be you. And you're going to have just the longest, best, most beautiful life.
Love it. I mean, that self-love piece is so huge. And yeah, we definitely need to have you on again to unpack more of these layers, Blake, because we didn't even get into like all of the other work that you and I apply. Yeah, we talked fasting, yeah, we talked food, but there's a lot more to health and longevity. So I just want to thank you so much for being on and sharing your wisdom and your story. And can't wait to see you at the Texas Fruit Festival. It's going to be an epic spring and summer. And we'll have you back, my friend. We'll talk soon.
All right, Stacey. Sounds good.
Thanks, Blake.
Thanks, guys.